Imagine the scene. David is standing at a podium ready to speak. The people are waiting to hear what he has to say. He bursts forth with the opening words of Psalm 116, "I love the Lord." This was not some monotone opening line. It is his overflowing expression of his response to the Lord. There was nothing subtle or secretive about it. He gladly proclaimed his relationship to the Lord. Let me read for you the opening verses of Psalm 116. I love the Lord, for he heard my voice. He heard my cry for mercy. Because he turned his ear to me, I will call on him as long as I live. The cords of death entangled me. The anguish of the grave came over me. I was overcome by distress and sorrow. Then I called on the name of the Lord. Lord, save me. David said, I love the Lord, first of all because of his listening ear. What a blessed privilege it is for the people of God to realize that the great God of heaven and earth listens to us. God listens to me. He hears my voice. Thus, at the end of verse 2, where we read, I will call on him as long as I live, we not only have a commitment, but it is obvious that David felt it was worth praying to the Lord. David believed in prayer. He appreciated the listening ear to his petitions, for the Lord hears our requests. He loves to hear our praise and thanksgiving, but he is also ready to hear our petitions. His listening ear hears the sighs of our sorrows. He hears and understands our anguish, sorrow, and disappointment. Tell him your troubles, your frustrations, your perplexities, and burdens. And the Lord's listening ear was there to hear his cry for help. Our God is greater than all of our problems. He can cope with every circumstance. He is greater than our enemies. He loves to help. He gladly extends his mercy. He is able to save. Then David says he loves the Lord because of his tender mercies. Follow then as I read verses 5 to 9 of Psalm 116. The Lord is gracious and righteous. Our God is full of compassion. The Lord protects the unwary. When I was brought low, he saved me. Return to your rest, my soul, for the Lord has been good to you. For you, Lord, have delivered me from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling, that I may walk before the Lord in the land of the living. David saw the tender mercies of God in God's dealings with mankind. He protects the simple-hearted, our text says. He helps the lowly, provides bountifully so that we need not fret. Rather, we may enjoy rest. He ministers to ordinary people and to those of high estate, if humility is their attitude. Because of his tender mercies, God deals with us also in the face of trouble. Verse 8, For you, O Lord, have delivered my soul from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling. The Lord provides salvation. He provides hope and guidance and keeping. What then shall be my response to these wonderful truths? 5 times in this psalm, David says, I will. In verse 2, he says, I will call on him as long as I live. In verse 13, I will lift up the cup of salvation and call on the name of the Lord. Verse 14, I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of his people. Verse 17, I will sacrifice a thanks offering to you and call on the name of the Lord. Verse 18, I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people. These verses are declarations of intention by David, and they set a pattern for us. These are statements of commitment. They are practical evidences of a loving response to the Lord. They are the actions that correspond to and give practical expression to the verbal statement, I love the Lord. Not only should those around him hear his voice, they should also witness his obedient life. Thus, in commenting on verse 9, one author says, God delivers those in need so that they may live obediently before him. And that is consistent with verse 18 that we just read. I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of his people. To summarize, the psalmist says, I love the Lord because of who he is, what he has done, and is doing. Do you love the Lord? Do you acknowledge his goodness, grace, and mercy? Is the expression of your mouth matched by the obedience of your life? I trust our answer is an enthusiastic yes. The hymn writer expressed it well. There is a name I love to hear. I love to sing its worth. It sounds like music in my ear, the sweetest name on earth. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus, because he first loved me. God bless you.